Budweiser Pregame Show is brought to you by Budweiser. With the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. This Bud's for you.
Welcome to Game 4, the NL Divisional Series between the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks. As you can see, Mother Nature has taken over. I'm Jeannie Zalaska with the Fox Network Center. First pitch in St. Louis has been delayed because of weather. So we'll go now to Joe Buck at Busch Stadium with an update.
Well, Jeannie, you're exactly right. It's still raining. It's a foggy day, and we hope that the rain will get out of the area. We understand that the rain will move out here eventually, and we hope to play baseball today. Obviously, because of scheduling around baseball, it is imperative that they get this game going. In this game, it'll be Albie Lopez, a guy who lost a combination of 19 games between Tampa Bay and Arizona against Bud Smith. He's 21 years old. He is a left-hander. He fashioned a no-hitter back on Labor Day, but that's who the Cardinals have their hopes riding on here today if we get this game in. Let's go to the map. On the weather map, you'll notice, Jeannie, that a lot of the weather is moving in this direction. There's a pocket of action here, pocket of rains here, and then we've got St. Louis right in the middle, and we all hope to be happy at the end of the day and get this game in. How about that, Jeannie? That's about as good as it gets. We're going to take a nap and be back with you in a half hour for another update. Jeannie, it's all yours.
Thanks, Joe. I think Jillian Barbery's job is safe for now. As soon as they play ball, we'll bring you coverage of Game 4 of the NLDS until the weather decides to cooperate. Return you to State of Grace on the Fox Family Channel. Local programming in Arizona and St. Louis headed your way after this break. Rain gear, not the only necessity in St. Louis. This has become a must-win situation. For a trip to the championship series will be in the cards for the Diamondbacks. Hi, everyone. Welcome inside the Fox Network Center. I'm Jeannie Zalaska along with Kevin Kennedy. The road to the World Series goes through Fox Sports, your exclusive home for the entire postseason. And with the Cardinals trailing 2-1, they may not be around much longer. There's a lot of blame directed Tony La Russa's way today, Kevin.
Well, one of the weaknesses for the Cardinals is their bullpen. They've saved only 69% of their games this year. That's not going to get it done. It should be 84 to 85% for a competitive ball club. The turning point, therefore, was in the 7th inning. Kyle got knocked out with a leadoff walk. It brings in Matthews to face the lefties. No problem there. Matthews, a 133 batting average against him versus the league and left-handed hitters this year. Timlin is ready for righties, but the problem is you got a good bench for Bob Brenly. So he lets the right-hander Miller hit against the lefty right there. Base hit to left center field. Colburn a pinch hitter. No right-hander to face Colburn because lefties were on the bench. Base hit to tie the ball game. More lefties. Womack, the ground ball. There's a big out right here at home plate. 2 outs now. Now, great Counsell. Of all guys, you do not expect Counsell to do this, to go deep. A hanging breaking ball to right field. First home run versus lefties this year for Counsell.
It wouldn't have been Colburn. And they had DeLucia, they had Durazo. So Timlin's going to face the left-hander, and then they got Womack and Counsell. I mean, where's your edge? I thought Matthews, you know, just about got us out of it. But I didn't think bringing Timlin and face all his left-handers was a better situation for us.
Now, somebody questioned McGuire pinch hitting in the 9th inning with a chance to win the game. How can you question that? The guy can go deep 1 every 10 at-bats this year. I question why he didn't have 4 at-bats. That's the only thing I would ask. Get that presence in the lineup. Therefore, pretty good at-bat, battling a tough submariner right-hander in Kim. And then the final pitch, a sinker right there. A ground ball to third, unassisted on the bag, over to first base to end the ball game. The Cardinals go down 2-1. So today it's Bud Smith, the lefty, who no-hit the Padres a couple of months ago. Look at this guy. Backdoor breaking ball. Good sinker right there for Bud Smith. This guy has good stuff. Good ground ball pitcher. Albie Lopez with no pressure. Up 2-1 for the D-backs. He goes. A lot of confidence Bob Brenly is showing in him. Good fastball, 93 to 95. Good hard slider. Expect some ground ball outs when he's on. If there is a Game 5, guess what? It's Curt Schilling, who shut out the St. Louis Cardinals in Game 1, 1-0. And if he gets in trouble, and if there's a need, look who's waiting in the wings. The big lefty, the unit, Randy Johnson. He's done it before in the 95 playoffs with Seattle Mariners. A good game plan by Bob Brenly. The game notes, Arizona, you'd like to see Matt Williams for them get his bat going. They need that bat in the middle of that lineup. He's 0 for 9. Albie Lopez has pitched well down the stretch, 1 earned run in his last 17 innings. Edmonds has been historically a very good postseason hitter, a .326 average. He had a big 2-run home run yesterday. The problem, the rest of the Cardinals got to start swinging that bat. 1 for 19 with runners in scoring position. Lopez can get wild at times. If he's on, he's got a powerful fastball. If he's not, he can walk the yard. We'll see what happens today. A lot of pressure on Bud Smith, the young lefty. He's only 21 years old. A must-win, obviously, down 2-1. We'll see what happens today.
And as we wait for this series to end, and I mean wait, because of the rain delay, NLCS will take place Tuesday. Who do the Braves want to face?
I don't think it matters. Maddox, Glavine, Burkett, and Smoltz combined against the Houston Astros for a 1.84 earned run average. Smoltz saved all 3 games. I don't think Atlanta cares at this point. People said they're not going to be there anyway. I don't think you want to see Schilling and Johnson, but really, in all heart, it doesn't really matter at this point.
Yeah, just happy to be there, thank you. And that's going to do it for us. We have a great day of baseball on tap. Leading up to tonight's showdown, the Yankees and A's. Will this be the end of an era for New York? Game 3 of the AL Divisional Series on the Fox Network. The journey continues in St. Louis, where the Cardinals were counseled on a Friday night. We'll find out if it sunk in. We know the wet stuff did. The road to the World Series continues on the Fox Networks.
Welcome back to the Budweiser pregame show.
I'm Jeannie Zalasko at the Fox Network Center. Game 3 of the ALDS between the Indians and Mariners is underway. The Tribe have a 2-1 lead in the first. That series tied at 1 game apiece. But in St. Louis, the Cardinals are on the verge of elimination after more than a 3-hour rain delay. I am proud to send you to Joe Buck and Tim McCarver at Busch Stadium.
Thank you, Jeannie. We are proud to accept you throwing it to us here in St. Louis. It is game 4 of this division series between the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks a win here, and they are in the National League Championship Series at home on Tuesday to face Atlanta. Glad you're with us. First pitch of the afternoon from Bud Smith is a strike. 21-year-old rookie left-hander Tim McCarver, and as these two starters, Bud Smith and Albie Lopez, make their first career postseason starts, they're doing it about 3.5 hours after they thought they would.
An obvious must-win for the Cardinals, and Bud Smith will not turn 22 years old until October 23rd. Tony La Russa reflecting on last night's game, realizing many moves were made by both managers. You can't help but look back on a game like that. I mean, it's a game that would want to make you sleep in your office, huh, Joe?
That's right, which Tony La Russa did after going across the street to a famous restaurant here in St. Louis. Here comes an 0-2 pitch to Womack. And another foul ball. Tony telling us before the game, you know, typically he goes over to that restaurant. He's wearing his jeans. He's got his book with him. They put him in the bar area. He eats his dinner. He went over there last night, and they sat him in the main dining room, he said, because there were Cardinal fans in the bar. Womack strikes out, and a good start for the 21-year-old Bud Smith. Take a look at this afternoon's starting lineup for the Arizona Diamondbacks, brought to you by Budweiser. Tony Womack, you know he leads off. He just struck out. Then it's Reggie Sanders, Luis Gonzalez, Greg Colburn at first, Steve Finley in center, Matt Williams, the third baseman, Craig Counsell, the hero last night, Damian Miller, the catcher, and Albie Lopez pitching and batting ninth. And here's the left-hander, Bud Smith, 6-3. One of those 6 wins, a no-hitter on September 3rd in San Diego. That's up and away, ball 1.
Bud Smith does not throw very hard. He has an excellent changeup, a good curveball, and because of that, it looks like Reggie Sanders has moved up in the box. Hitters will often do that against guys who do not throw particularly hard.
Changeup misses, the count 2-0. After Sanders, it's Luis Gonzalez. Cardinals led last night 2-0 on the home run by Edmonds in the 4th. 2-1 after a Gonzalez home run in the 6th. And then a 4-run 7th inning won it for Arizona. Here's a 2-0. 3 balls, no strikes. Sanders with 33 home runs during the regular season, off to a good start in this series, 4 out of 9. Last night appeared in the game, had his only at bat in the 9th inning and singled. 3-1. Sanders taking all the way for Bob Brenly, who made some changes to his lineup for last night's game, and against the left-handed starter his lineup has been turned over a bit. 3-1 pitch, full count.
A better curve than advertised. An outstanding changeup. And poise equals success. A very calm, evenly demeanored 21-year-old Bud Smith from Torrance, California.
Here is a 3-2, and just before it, Sanders stepped out.
Joe, I guess you have to be poised if you pitch a no-hitter, but among 50 family members.
From Torrance, California, as Tim said, and he had 50 members of his family, friends, as he misses down and in for a one-out walk. He pitched the no-hitter on September 3rd, threw 134 pitches to do it. Take a look at the Cardinal defense. And you see Renteria with a play he made in last night's game, play at the plate. It's Eli Marrero behind the plate catching Bud Smith, joined by Polanco, Renteria, Vina, and McGuire making the start at first base. That means Pujols is in left, Edmonton center, and J.D. Drew in right. Here's Luis Gonzalez, 2 out of 13. Last night homered, was 0 for 10 prior to his at bat in the 6th inning. Hit one right down the right field line. It just did stay fair as it hit the screen on the foul pole to make it a 2-1 game. There's a strike on the inside part. Diamondbacks seeing Bud Smith for the first time, and the Cardinals will see Albie Lopez for the first time. And if there is a Game 5 tomorrow evening in Arizona, it'll be a pitching matchup we saw back in Game 1 of Matt Morris and Curt Schilling. Here's an 0-1. 0-2. Curt Schilling hoping that his next start is against Atlanta.
That's a good point, Joe, because if the Diamondbacks win this game, both Schilling and Johnson will be ready for games 1 and 2 against the Braves on Tuesday at Bank One Ballpark in Phoenix.
Runner starts and stops on a pitch down and in, ball 1 to Luis Gonzalez. That is such an advantage for Arizona because they are so top heavy with their 1-2 punch. Batista was tremendous last night for Bob Brenly. Cardinals feel like they have 3 #1 starters, but not worth a whole lot right now, down 2-1. Here comes a 1-2. Gonzalez laid off, and the count 2 balls, 2 strikes.
In the early going, you're seeing Bud Smith throw changeups, straight changeups to left-handed batters, and that is very unusual for a left-handed pitcher to do that. You struck out Womack on a changeup out of a strike zone, and a 1-2 changeup to try to get Gonzalez.
Check on the runner Sanders at first. Not only the no-hitter on September 3rd for Bud Smith at San Diego. Shortly thereafter, the terrorist attacks on the 11th, the 6-day layoff, and Bud Smith was the one who took the ball first game back on that Monday, September 17th, here at home against Milwaukee, and was a 2-1 winner. Runner goes. The pitch is ball 3, and down to second with a stolen base is Sanders. That is the first stolen base of this series for the Diamondbacks.
Sometimes the location of the pitch determines whether a catcher will throw out a runner. Left-handed batter, the pitch is inside. Too much to do for Mike Matheny, and an excellent jump by Reggie Sanders. The look, no play.
Now a hit means a run. 3-2 pitch. Gonzalez out in front of a changeup, and the count stays full.
I said Mike Matheny behind the plate. It's Eli Marrero behind the plate. Matheny, the best throwing catcher in baseball, started last night's game.
Runner on at second, 1 out. Arizona trying to grab the lead, and that's high for ball 4. Back-to-back walks. And it's 2 on with 1 out. Greg Colburn, who has been a tremendous impact player off the bench for the Diamondbacks this season, walks in. He hits cleanup tonight. He's 2 for 2 in this series so far, and got a hit in that 4-run 7th inning. pinch hitting an RBI single, and after the pinch runner Cummings took over, Cummings scored a run, and the Diamondbacks went on to a 5-3 victory.
Greg Colburn signed as a catcher 12 years ago. Had transplant surgery on that right elbow. He's had left knee problems this year, only 97 at bats, but he can flat hit.
Strike one from Bud Smith.
And always could.
A little more about Bud Smith. 17-2 last year in the minor leagues with 2 no-hitters. This year, a no-hitter in the big leagues.
No hitter, no problem.
0-1 pitch. 0-2. Pitch was up. Colburn went after it, but couldn't put it in play. Bud Smith, the 24th rookie in Major League history to throw a no-hitter, and the 9th no-hitter overall in Cardinal history. But he has never been tested like he's being tested here today. Cardinals facing elimination. 0-2 pitch, 1-2. You remember the left-hander the Cardinals started in the division series last year against Atlanta, Rick Ankiel. With all the control trouble, made another start in the National League Championship Series. And after starting the season with the Cardinals and beating Arizona, he ended up in the minor leagues and now is working on things in instructional league. That's up the middle. Renteria flips. They got one. Did not get them both, and it's first and third, 2 out. Edgar Renteria with a tremendous play to his left.
A remarkable play, not only to come up with the ball because the ball stayed down, but to flip it backhanded to Vina, and look at a guy who some people think gets rid of the ball more quickly than any second baseman in the game, and that's the reason why right there. That was a very close play at first base.
Just beating the throw is Colburn, and now Steve Finley bats with runners at the corners and 2 out. That missed for ball 1. Home plate umpire is Brian Gorman. Last night it was Mike Winters. He's now down the right field line. Bruce Fremming and Jim Joyce, the veteran umpires on this crew, and now time called. Finley last night against Darryl Kyle ended up with 1 hit on the night, 2 hits, and in this series he's 5 out of 11. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Looking bad there. Steve, a .235 hitter against left-handers this year, and it's odd, he's hitting 5th against the left-hander today. But a pitcher against whom he hit .367, he was hitting 7th last night.
And it worked well for the Diamondbacks.
Perfectly.
Runners at the corners, 2 out, and a 1-1 instead of throw to first. And Colburn, who doesn't figure to run, is back easily. Bud Smith last pitched at Milwaukee on October 3rd, so working on 9 days rest. He had a rough start. He lasted only 3 innings and allowed 6 runs on 6 hits. Here's the 1-1. 1-2.
See if Bob Brenly will send Colburn at first base, and if Marrero throws through, the Diamondbacks may try to steal a run.
Time called by Finley.
A lot of managers will do that with 2 out and with the count not in Finley's favor. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
And timeout called by Finley again. A 25 pitch first inning for Bud Smith, who has 1 strikeout, 2 walks. Good play behind him defensively, and a 1-2 pitch now coming to Finley. Down and in, 2-2. Albie Lopez will step to the mound for the Diamondbacks in the bottom of this first. Here's a 2-2. Finley just got a piece. Really, neither manager knows what to expect out of either of these two starters. Albie Lopez was good in his final two starts during the regular season, but he was either terrific or terrible during different stretches after the Diamondbacks picked him up from Tampa Bay.
Either a penthouse or a warehouse.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Finley trying to put the Diamondbacks out in front. Guerrero could not hang on to the foul tip. So back to first is Colburn. Waiting over at third base is Sanders. And on a 64-degree day where we have had rain throughout the first half of the day, everybody anticipating the start of this game 4. Finley trying to put Arizona on top. Does, with a base hit through the right side. Sanders scores, and it's 1-0 Diamondbacks. Good at bat by Finley, and a good start for Arizona as they're on the board first.
We said that Bud Smith would throw the changeup to left-handed batters. That's one of the reasons a lot of left-handed pitchers don't do it, because it ends up in that volatile down and in area. That ball's out over the plate a little bit more than down and in. But you get the point. That becomes a very easy pitch to pull for the left-handers, and Steve Finley taking advantage of that hole on the right side puts the D-backs up.
So Sanders, who reached on a walk, stole a base, ends up scoring, and now Matt Williams could make this a big start for Arizona. Strike 1. So far 0 for 9 in this series. A .275 hitter during the regular season. Bob Brenly has 3 .275 hitters in a row. Rain starts to fall again here in game 4. Here's an 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. 16 home runs, 65 RBIs. For one of the most productive third baseman in the late 80s, early 90s. Already 31 pitches this inning for Bud Smith. Here's a 1-1. That's out of play. 1-2, and the rain picks up a little bit.
Joe, I think Matt Williams perhaps started the home run boom of the mid to late 90s. That has obviously culminated in 73 home runs this year by Barry Bonds. It was Matt Williams who had 43 home runs when the season was called off on August 12, 1994.
He waits for a 1-2 pitch. Fought it off. Craig Counsell, who last night hit his first home run off a left-handed pitcher to put Arizona on top 5-2, and they won it 5-3.
That's in over 1,300 at-bats in the major leagues.
Here's the 1-2. Pitch up and out over the plate, and Williams fouled it back. So you're looking at Bud Smith, who's in the mid-30s now with his pitch count. The Cardinals will empty their bullpen, and remember, they have a starter down there if they need a long reliever in Dustin Hermanson, who was the other option for Tony La Russa to start this game 4, but he went with the left-hander. Here's a 1-2. Should end the inning. Vina takes care of Matt Williams, and that'll do it for Arizona. But they get 1 run, 1 hit after a couple of walks in the inning, strand 2, and lead 1-0 after a half inning. Just the start, Arizona won it, up 2-1. Here's today's starting lineup for the Cardinals, brought to you by Budweiser. They lead it off with Fernando Vina. Placido Polanco bats second and third. J.D. Drew hits third and right. Albert Pujols cleans up. Then it's Jim Edmonds, who hit a home run last night. Mark McGwire starting today. Edgar Renteria, the shortstop. Eli Marrero doing the catching, and Bud Smith pitching and batting ninth. That lineup against the right-hander, Albie Lopez, 30-year-old right-hander, who combined was 9 and 19 during the regular season.
You can see the stature of Albie Lopez, 9 and 19. That is only the second time that a pitcher has started a postseason game with 19 losses in the history of Major League Baseball.
Take a look at the defense for Arizona. As a team committing only 84 during the regular season last year. That's in the error column, and it's Gonzalez, Finley, and Sanders in the outfield left to right, with Williams, Womack, Counsell, and Colbrin on the infield. Greg Colbrin gets the start at first. Bob Brenly loves Damian Miller behind the plate. It's Albie Lopez ready for his first pitch of the afternoon. Vina takes strike one. During this postseason, not much from Vina, 2 out of 12. During the regular season, a lot out of Vina, 303 with 9 home runs and 56 RBIs. And a base hit. Cardinals have their leadoff man on as Vina floats one into right.
Take a look at the scouting report on Albie Lopez. That cutter having late movement. That is the pitch, by the way, that Vina hit for the base hit. Bob Brenly thinks he needs to use his change more often. Better stuff than that 9 and 19 record indicates. Lopez's teammates kid him, calling him a guy with 4 thighs, 2 above the knees, 2 below the knees. He gets a lot of leg drive. Huge lower part of the body.
Cardinals put their leadoff man on, and Polanco watches a throw go to first. Vina 17 steals during the regular season, and with a guy like Polanco at the plate, this is a hit and run combination that Tony La Russa likes to use quite a bit. Vina running. Pitch is low, and the throw down too late. Stolen base for Vina, and Womack puts up a mild argument, and Bob Brenly is going to join in the argument.
A ploy a hitter can use is to try to square around and put the bat head right in line with the catcher trying to receive the ball. It keeps the catcher back. It doesn't allow him to go out front. Now watch Polanco screen the ball, or at least try to, from the catcher, Damian Miller. A fine throw by Miller. Throw just to the third base side. Quick tag. He was safe.
Barely. Now with a runner at second, nobody out. Polanco will try to at least move him over. The bunt, Williams, the throw, 1 out. And a runner at third, 1 away with J.D. Drew coming up. They'll give a sacrifice, 5-3. And I don't know about you, but I'm surprised with this bunt.
Yeah, with Polanco, a very productive 307 hitter. We saw J.D. Drew do it last night against the right-handed pitcher.
Tell you what, weather's becoming a factor again here.
It is possible that this game could only be.
Drew grounds one to the right side. That's a base hit. And it's a tie game, 1-1.
Going to say possible that this game could be a 5-inning game. Albie Lopez slow in covering. Fine play by Colbrin. But Drew beating Lopez easily. And he may have strained a hamstring or a groin in the process of covering first base. We talked about how big his legs are. And legs like that, it's conducive to muscle pulls.
Well, this would be the worst scenario for the Diamondbacks. They have Schilling scheduled to go in a possible Game 5 tomorrow. Their bullpen consists of a couple of guys who have started this season. Mike Morgan, one start. Brian Anderson, predominantly a starter. He worked in last night's game, but getting ahead of ourselves as it looks like they're checking the right ankle of Albie Lopez.
Well, the delay right there. Lopez just falling asleep, not breaking right away, and he had to with the speed of J.D. Drew.
Lopez testing, I think, a sore right ankle. See if he can continue. And it appears he can. Well, now limping pretty noticeably coming off the mound. And he's at least going to give it a shot here. So Pujols will bat with Drew at first, one out. This outfield took on a lot of water prior to the start of this game. It appears to be in decent shape for the amount of rain that we got here the first half of the day. But if we get another one of those downpours, they may have to halt action and look toward tomorrow night. So here's Albie Lopez, big calves and thighs set aside. That right ankle now, which is what he drives off as he brings the ball to the plate, a question mark, and a pitch out as Drew stays put, ball one. Pujols, 2 out of 11 in this series. One of his 2 hits, that first inning home run in Game 2 against Randy Johnson out at Bank One Ballpark. 37 home runs during the regular season. Left side, good play by Matt Williams. Out at second, out at first. Matt Williams showing a lot of range. And Albie Lopez limps off the mound. We are through 1. Bud Smith will go back to the hill. Good play by the 4-time Gold Glove Award winner Williams. And after that, we're tied 1-1 into the second.
The Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser, is brought to you by Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. This Bud's for you. By Siemens, Siemens Global Network of Innovation. And by MasterCard. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard.
Bud Smith goes back to work. He had a long first inning, allowed 1 hit, 2 walks, a stolen base mixed in, 1 run. It's 1-1 now, second inning, and Craig Counsell, who popped one down the right field line last night, leads it off. Lefty on lefty. Counsell excelled in this situation during the regular season, had over .330 against left-handed pitching, and tries to bunt. That's easy for Smith. You have to respect the power of Craig Counsell, so we thought he'd just throw him a little change up there and drop one down.
Drive him back and then drop one in front of him. Have to admire a guy like Counsell, who was released 2 years ago by the Los Angeles Dodgers, signed a minor league contract with the Diamondbacks, and was a hero in last night's game.
Damian Miller takes a pitch outside for ball 1. Teammates call him Rudy. From the movie, he went to Notre Dame. Craig Counsell did, and Rudy came through for the Diamondbacks last night. Counts 2-0, and the crowd feels like Bud Smith is getting squeezed by Brian Gorman, the home plate umpire. Damian Miller, a huge hit in last night's game, as big as the home run by Counsell, and that's driven deep into right. Drew is there, 2 out.
Nice play by J.D. Drew.
You see him tiptoeing back to the track. He thought he was a little closer to the wall than he actually was. But the leap and the grab at the end, and now with 2 out, nobody on, Albie Lopez, who was 1 out of 29 at the plate, stands in. Lopez Originally came up with the Indians in '93 and was there through '97, and was Tampa Bay's 11th pick in the expansion draft in November of '97. Traded to Arizona the 25th of July of this season for Nick Bierbrot and Jason Contact. That misses. 2 balls and a strike. Lopez lost his first 3 starts, then won 3 in a row, then 0-4 in his next 6 starts, and then his last 2 starts were tremendous. Doesn't look like a guy who was 1 for 29 at the plate as he hits it sharply, but right at Polanco, and the Diamondbacks go in order. The Cardinals will send in Edmonds, then McGuire, then Renteria in the second. We're tied at 1.
Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser, is brought to you by Energizer. You have the bunny inside, and by your neighborhood 7-Eleven store. Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven.
Rain continues to fall here in St. Louis. No carts today, walking only. That's what they told us prior to the start of the game. Jim Edmonds, who homered in last night's game, a 2-run shot, also threw Grace out at the plate, leads it off. Only 2 out of 10 in this series, and he lifts one into left field. Pretty well hit. Back at the wall. It's 2-1 St. Louis. McGuire, who comes up empty, strike 1.
A high fastball hitter gets a high fastball out over the plate. Wow.
McGuire ended a long night of baseball last night by bouncing into a 5-3 double play. So far in this series, 0 for 4. During the regular season, 29 home runs. There was a pitch from McGuire to Hammer, and he fouls it away for strike 2. Last night, the final swing, a little bobble. Williams recovered, and with that play, Bob Brentley looking for his wife Joan as he heads out on the field to celebrate a 5-3 win. McGuire pops it up. Straight up on the infield, and Tony Womack is there to make the play. 1 out. Renteria will bat. Right now, here's Jeannie Zalasko with a game break.
Well, Joe, Seattle pitching is struggling in Cleveland. Bottom 2 here. Omar Vizquel making easy work of the Aaron Seeley offering. He ends up with a triple, more importantly, 2-run score. So a pitching change to begin the third. Out with Seeley, in with Paul Abbott. First pitch, goodbye. Juan Gonzalez, a solo shot. 5-1, bottom 3 tribe, Joe.
All right, Jeannie, thank you. First pitch up and away for a ball to Edgar Renteria.
That Cleveland game starting with Seattle scoring 1 in the first inning. CC Sabathia pitching out of bases loaded 1-out jam.
Renteria takes a strike. It's 1-1. I am on record as saying that I thought the Mariners, and this is me patting myself on the back, it's not that, but it's to bring up the point. The Mariners, with their 116 wins during the course of the regular season, setting a new American League record and tying the Major League Baseball record, was one thing. But they were a team built for the long haul, for the entire stretch of the season. Their pitching rotation outside of Freddie Garcia, heck, he lost in game 1, hittable. Seeley today, and the pitching matchup tomorrow has Bartolo Colon coming back, and he may be in a position to shut down the series.
It'll be the game 1 matchup of Colon and Garcia tomorrow in Cleveland. The only winner for Seattle, Jamie Moyer, who pitched very well in 7 innings, picking up the win in game 2.
So all of that work, all of those records, an incredible season And the Mariners are in trouble in Cleveland. Breaking ball stays up and in. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Renteria, who's 3 out of 9 in this series. Meanwhile, tonight the A's have a chance to finish the Yankees up 2-0, and they have Barry Zito on the mound, taking on Mike Messina. Renteria flies one down the right side, and that will be fouled. Still 2-2. Renteria, a similar fly ball off his bat in last night's game that ended up over the wall for a home run. Albie Lopez on 2-2, and Renteria somehow got a piece of that.
Joe, to add to what you were saying about the Seattle Mariners, think about how long it has been. The Seattle Mariners have been pressed. It was so easy for them this year. And now all of a sudden an emergency 3 out of 5 series where you have to win. And I certainly agree with you on that note. They were 12 games ahead of the Oakland Athletics after only 26 games of the season. The Athletics, in my view, the best team in baseball right now.
3 balls, 2 strikes, and Renteria hits it hard into right. Sanders going to get it. Nice play. 2 out. Nobody made any mention of the Diamondbacks picking up Reggie Sanders after a lost year. This guy has really produced for Bob Brenly's team, and they have needed him to back up Luis Gonzalez in the lineup. 33 home runs. When he first came up, everybody thought he was going to be the next Eric Davis, the next guy to take over the game with his raw natural ability. Here's Marrero. Eli Marrero takes the ball low. Marrero getting the start today, his second start of this series, 0 for 4 so far. The fastest catcher in baseball as far as running speed, and Womack takes care of him to end the inning. An inning which started with a home run by Jim Edmonds. Took a pitch up and out and drove it up and out. With that, 2-1 Cardinals after 2. Bud Smith back to the hill, top of the order for Arizona here in the 3rd inning. That means Womack, Sanders, and Gonzalez. It's 2-1 Cardinals now after a home run by Jim Edmonds. Tim, you and I, we do our little thing here in the booth night after night, and we talk about strategy, and we try to think ahead with the managers. We look back on moves that managers make during the course of the game. And then you look ahead and wonder what might happen the next day when you show up in that manager's office. We went down and talked to Tony La Russa before we went over and talked about Brenly before today's game. And Tony La Russa always has his reasons, and it's always well thought out. You may not agree with it. We certainly didn't agree with the way the pitching was used in the 7th inning. And he never really came out and said, well, if I had it to do over again, I would have done it another way. But I think in a roundabout way, we'll tell you that he would have prepared for the inning a little differently and maybe had veers ready for a lot of the left-handed bats that were over on the Arizona bench.
Instead of Mike Timlin, who is the right-hander up and throwing. Left-handed hitters batting .350 against Timlin this year.
A strike hits the outside corner to Tony Womack, who struck out his first time up. In on the corners of the infield to protect against the bunt. 1 ball, 1 strike from Bud Smith.
I asked Tony in that meeting, Joe, how do you take it so calmly? He said, I wasn't calm last night.
The 1-1. Womack fouls it out of play, a lot like Dick Vermeil used to do while with the Philadelphia Eagles. Tony La Russa has been known to sleep in his office at the stadium, either in preparation for the next day's game or, I guess more so in the world of baseball, thinking back on what just happened. That's well hit into right on a breaking ball, and Womack will test through. He's going to try for a double. The throw, and safe is Tony Womack. Leadoff double by the Arizona leadoff man, and there's the tying run.
A hanger is defined as a pitch whose action has stopped in the strike zone. Nice try by Drew to get the speedy Womack. Really no chance on a ball hit like that. This ball appears to stop in the strike zone. It can be low, it can be high. It used to be that everybody talked about hanging breaking balls or hanging sliders, anything up, but it can hang when it's low, but this one hangs up in the strike zone.
So a leadoff double, and Reggie Sanders, who walked, stole a base, and scored a run. His first time up is at the plate. Tying run at second, nobody out here in the third inning. And a strike on the inside corner. We talked about last year for Sanders, and it was not a good year any way you look at it with Atlanta. A .232 average with only 11 home runs and 37 RBIs. Compared to this year, 33 home runs and 90 runs batted in.
Because of that, not a thought here to move the runner along. He wants to drive him in.
Change up in the count 0-2. Crowd subdued, as you might expect, after a 3-hour 36-minute delay before we got underway just before 4 o'clock. A game that was supposed to start locally at just after noon. Here's an 0-2 to Sanders. 1 out. Sanders did not advance the runner. Strikeouts throughout the career of Reggie Sanders have been a problem.
Trouble with the high fastball. Obviously the Cardinals know that. Everybody in the National League knows that. And with the count no balls and 2 strikes, Sanders is vulnerable and goes down swinging.
1 point led the league in strikeouts back in '94 with the Reds. Struck out 137 times 2 seasons ago. And Luis Gonzalez jumps in there with a chance to tie it with a hit. Runner at second, 1 out. Drew will walk his first time up. Breaking ball misses, ball 1. Bud Smith is definitely not in the category of an excitable young left-handed pitcher. He can be exciting. But you talk about a guy who at least has a calm appearance on the outside. For a 21-year-old, it's remarkable. You see what's going on tonight on the Fox network. The Yankees and the A's, game 3 with the A's up 2-0. That'll start at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on the Fox network. And they're being careful with Gonzalez. 3-0.
Bud Smith, a pitcher who throws as his stature would dictate. He's only 6 feet tall, 165 pounds.
Here's a 3-0. You can do a lot with 165 pounds, as the Yankees found out with Tim Hudson a couple of nights ago.
I was going to follow that up with, and yet Tim Hudson of the Oakland Athletics weighs 160 pounds and pitches like a pitcher much, much bigger.
3-1. Gonzalez draws a walk, and it's 2 on with 1 out.
Now it sets things up for Womack to run. He didn't want to run with Gonzalez up there, but a 3-0 curveball is followed by a high fastball.
Lead runner, trail runner, good speed on for Arizona. Greg Colbrin at the plate, bounced into a fielder's choice, and it took a tremendous play from Renteria to get the out. Ball 1.
You can see the good base runners, and Tony Womack, one of the best base runners in the National League, how he starts outside the line at second base. You don't take a walking lead from second base because you'll be off too far, but you want to be mobile. So the good base runners start outside the line, move into the line before they either try to steal third or react to the ball that's hit.
Womack the runner at second. Pickoff play, and they got it. I guess it was a good time to talk about that.
Tony Womack walking into the line and diving into the second out of the inning. Walking. He was out. Bud Smith with a quick move to second base and a quick tag by Vina.
Now it's Colburn at the plate. He takes a strike. It's 1-1. Colburn drove home 18 runs during the regular season, but as we mentioned, his big purpose on this team was to come off the bench and provide hits. And boy, did he do that. Should end the inning. Polanco, wide throw and safe. That's an error for a guy who committed only 4 errors during the regular season. And that's a big play with Finley coming up. E5 and the inning continues.
Routine play for Polanco. No concentration right here, pulling Vina off the bag. That is an uncharacteristic play for a guy that the Cardinals think could be a Gold Glove third baseman someday.
Save call given by Mike Everett, the second base umpire. Vina off the bag, and now Finley with runners at first and second, 2 out. And a strike on the outside corner. Oftentimes you judge a pitcher by what they do in a situation like this. Cardinals facing elimination. Thought he was out of the inning, just picked a runner off second prior to that ground ball, and now Finley has a 1-ball, 1-strike count. See how the 21-year-old, soon to be 22-year-old, handles the task of pitching around an error. Albie Lopez waiting to work in the bottom of the third. That's down the right field line into the corner. Well hit and foul. Just foul.
You could see Bob Brenly shaking his head yes, and probably thinking, if we keep hitting balls this hard, we're going to eventually get to Smith. Another hanging curveball, and Finley misses a home run by about 8 feet.
So now it's a 1-ball, 2-strike count on Steve Finley. Runners on at first and second, 2-1 St. Louis, top of the third inning. Two and two. .62 pitches already for Bud Smith after a quick 8-pitch second inning against the bottom of the order. Finley hops out of there. Diamondbacks coming up with their first postseason road win here last night. Trying to, in their 4th season in the National League, get to the National League Championship Series. They are 1 win away from doing that. Here's a 2-2 to Finley. Vina. Inning over. So a man picked off at second, an error, and Bud Smith, the 21-year-old, out of trouble. Bottom of the third in St. Louis, 2-1 Cardinals.
The Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. This Bud's for you.
Back at Busch Stadium, bottom of the third inning. The Diamondbacks so close to a 2-out, 3-run home run from Steve Finley. Smith eventually got the ground ball, and Bud Smith, who handles the bat pretty well, takes a strike. 4-out, 25 during the regular season. Facing Albie Lopez with Vina and Polanco to follow. That's strike 2. You start to look at the pitch count for somebody like Bud Smith, and he's not long for this game. He's thrown 63 pitches already. Tony La Russa has allowed Bud Smith to throw more than 100 pitches only 3 times. One of those 3 times with that 134 pitch no-hit effort in San Diego. And why is that a concern? He's not a big-bodied pitcher.
Right.
And he has thrown 195 and 2/3 innings this season, combined with his minor league work, compared to his previous high of 108 and 2/3 innings.
A guy like Albie Lopez, on the other hand, we talked about those big legs. He is really a drop and drive type of pitcher. He's the guy who gives you the feeling he could go all day. Much like Bartolo Colon of the Cleveland Indians, he's built like Colon. You mentioned earlier, Joe, that he signed originally with the Indians. He's Colon-esque.
It was 0-2, now it's 3-2, and at times the control can become a problem for Albie Lopez. That's down the left field line, foul.
And that was ball 4. But you can't expect a young pitcher who has not hit a lot in his career as a professional to know the strike zone that well with the bat.
A leadoff walk to the pitcher. That usually starts trouble. Nobody knows that any more than Bob Brenly. Fox Family goes down under and throws another big screen movie on the Barbie. Tim, it's Paul Hogan. He stars in Crocodile Dundee 2, Sunday at 8 Eastern, 7 Central on Fox Family.
All right, Mike.
Good eye. Runner at first, nobody out, and Fernando Vina stands in. Vina singled, stole a base, and scored in the first. Well, we are working with a tight strike zone today, which is just what these teams and fans want after a 3-hour, 36-minute delay. Well hit down the line, might go. Home run. 4-1 St. Louis in the 3rd inning. Still nobody out in the inning, and Polanco will stand in and pop one foul and out of play.
Tough, gritty, and good is Fernando Vina. Lopez tries to cut a fastball inside, but Vina wraps it around the right field of foul pole. Boy, he's a good player.
Total of 10 home runs during this season, including the playoffs, as Womack picks it up. Throws out Polanco, one away. And defensively, Vina has committed 9 errors. I saw him for the bulk of the season, and I haven't seen a better defensive second baseman in the National League than Fernando Vina.
Certainly no quicker second baseman. Lightning fast with the pivot, and on that particular pitch, lightning fast with his hands.
Drew now with an RBI single to his credit. Takes a breaking ball in for a strike.
You walk the leadoff batter, though, Joe, particularly the pitcher, and you're asking for something bad to happen. And that's what Lopez did in this inning.
Drew golfs one into left center field. It slices to Gonzalez, 2 out.
It's the result of what a pitcher and what goes through a pitcher's mind after he walks the leadoff batter. Then the strikes to the succeeding hitters become better pitches to hit, because he walks that leadoff batter, plants in his mind that, oh my gosh, I've got to throw strikes, and the strikes become fat strikes, as the one to Vina was.
Pujols now. Only 2 out of 12 in this series. Ball 1. Pujols, as we mentioned last night, actually a better second half of the season, which was stunning. Brian Anderson getting loose for the Diamondbacks in their bullpen. Stunning in that this was a player who played single-A baseball during the course of the season last year. Only made the team really because Bobby Bonilla came up with a hamstring strain. Pujols was available for that first series in Denver, Colorado. Hit his first major league home run in Arizona as the Cardinals swept the Diamondbacks. And then Pujols just took off. An all-star this year. Ended up the all-star game as the second baseman. Told by Bobby Valentine, don't try to turn any double plays, just stay healthy out there. Tony La Russa will fly to wherever I am and take care of me. 3 balls and a strike on Pujols. Arroyo, the last Cardinal rookie, make the all-star team. That was in 1955, and there's a 2-out walk. With Edmonds coming up, they can't get Anderson ready fast enough, and we'll see if Bob Brenly will let Lopez face the Cardinal center fielder who took him out of the park the opposite way his first time up.
Joe, just think about what would have happened to Pujols and the Cardinals if Albert hadn't hit immediately in the first 2 series the Cardinals played this year. Bob Welch, the pitching coach of the D-backs, out to talk to Albie Lopez. If he takes, say he goes 0 for 12, 0 for 15 in the first 2 series of the season, you know the Cardinals will think, well, he's not ready yet.
We don't want to ruin this.
Don't want to ruin him. Right, right.
Home plate umpire is going to walk out and break up the meeting, and Lopez trying to hang in this game, and he will deal with Edmonds, who not only homered in this game, homered last night with the bases loaded, 2 out in the 8th inning. Down by 2 runs. Just missed a pitch off Young Hun Kim. Flied into right center field to end that threat. Big hole on the right side of the infield as Colburn holds against Pujols. Edmonds with 30 home runs during the regular season. Back in the second. Out of the park the opposite way and into the Diamondbacks bullpen, which is where Bob Brenly may go shortly if Albie Lopez doesn't get it out with Edmonds. A 1-0. 2-0.
I think Jim Edmonds, as much as any hitter in the major leagues, has carry at the top, which means that because he's a high fastball hitter, a lot of the fly ball home runs that he hits look like the outfielder has a shot at it, but the ball carries at the top. Not too many guys have that type of power. It's almost a nuance in your swing, and one of the real advantages of being a high ball hitter. That top hand can create that carry at the top.
Edmonds waits for a 3-0 pitch. Taking. Strike 1. Edmonds a .313 hitter at Busch Stadium this season. 16 home runs, 61 of his 110 RBI. Here's a 3-1. That'll put 2 on in the 3rd walk of the inning, and that sends McGuire to the plate.
You know what Bob Brenly's thinking right now? There's no way I can bring the left-handed 83-mile-an-hour throwing Brian Anderson in right now. I've got to leave Lopez in to at least pitch to McGuire and see how he does.
McGuire with 2 on takes it high, ball 1. McGuire is actually a lot more productive against right-handed pitching. He sees it more. And I would imagine is probably happier to face Lopez than he is a softer throwing left-hander Anderson. That breaking ball is missed, and the count 1-1.
Good slider from Albie Lopez. 3 walks in this inning.
One ball, one strike. 1-2. McGuire hit 167 against left-handed pitching this season. As he comes up empty with this offering from Lopez, and now McGuire is set up for the strikeout to end the long bottom of the 3rd inning for Albie Lopez.
And the best place to do it is the same pitch, right around the letters.
Into right center field. Back is Sanders, and near the track, a step away from it. Hauls it in to end the inning. An inning which started with a walk to the pitcher Bud Smith. It was followed by a home run by Vina. Facing elimination, the Cardinals lead by 3 after 3.
The Division Series on Fox is presented by Budweiser. Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. This Bud's for you.
Well, the weather is definitely improving as we go along. Skies are a little brighter than they were 2 innings ago. Hopes are a little brighter for the Cardinals and their fans than they were a couple of innings ago. Diamondbacks got a run in the 1st inning. The Cardinals came back with a run. RBI hit by Drew, then took the lead in the 2nd on a leadoff home run by Jim Edmonds. Added to their lead in the bottom of the 3rd. A leadoff walk to the pitcher Bud Smith, and a 2-run home run by Fernando Vina. Matt Williams first up. He bounced out to 2nd with 2 on his first time up, and now is 0 for 10 in this series. He followed by Counsell and then Damian Miller. Anybody gets on the pitcher's spot in the right situation, Bob Brenly might go to his bench. 4-1 Cardinals. 1 ball, no strikes on Matt Williams. Two 2-0. Brian Anderson still standing out there, but not loosening. As Smith brings home a 2-0. 3-0. A 4-pitch walk and a good start to this 4th inning for Arizona. That's the 4th walk handed out by Bud Smith, who's working on 9 days of rest. And now Counsell will bat with a runner at 1st and nobody out.
So Albie Lopez walked the pitcher, and then on the 1st pitch, Fernando Vina homered. And now Bud Smith walks Matt Williams on 4 pitches, and a guy who can handle left-handed pitchers, Craig Counsell, batting.
Strike 1. So the Diamondbacks looking for a hit, something productive out of Rudy. Craig Counsell 0 for 1, tried to bunt his way on the first time up and bunted back to Smith. On the outside corner, 0-2. Last night, 3-1 pitch from Mike Matthews, and the difference maker. Counsell set up at 0-2 here. Goes the other way, hits it pretty well, but Pujols back to get it, 1 out. One on, 1 out. I like seeing a manager let go of his emotions a little bit.
Absolutely.
You see so many managers that stay so guarded down in the dugout, like they can't show if they're excited, if they're upset. Bob Brenly certainly didn't hold anything back last night.
Well, I should say he didn't.
And good for him. 1 on, 1 out. Here's Damian Miller. High for ball 1.
I think Bob will pinch hit for Lopez, even if there are 2 outs. Anderson continues to throw out there. He's ready. Sure enough, Jay Bell is coming to the on-deck circle.
That's foul. Crushed, but foul.
So unless Miller hits into a double play, Lopez is finished for the day.
Damian Miller, 1 ball, 1 strike. He lined out to deep right his first time up. 32nd birthday today for Damian Miller. That's strike 2, and Bud Smith got a fastball by him. 86 looks a little harder than it typically would after changeup after changeup.
Right after that 70-mile-an-hour changeup and 74-mile-an-hour curveball, that 86-mile-an-hour fastball looks explosive.
Here's a 1-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes. The Diamondbacks and Cardinals will play tomorrow evening in Arizona if necessary. That means if the Cardinals win here today. That'll be on prime time on Fox. Here's a 2-2, and Miller spoiled it. We will be there. We will pack up this traveling act. We will get all the graphics discs. We'll get the trucks. Can you drive a truck out to Phoenix in time for tomorrow night's game?
Yeah, I think so. If you leave right after the game, get fair weather.
That's a base hit, and the Diamondbacks have something going here in the 4th inning. A leadoff walk. Counsell fly deep to left. A hit by Miller. 2 on, 1 out. Jay Bell will bat for Albie Lopez.
15 years ago, Jay Bell got his major league career going. First pitch he saw off Bert Blyleven. Home run. Thinking Major Leagues is a piece of cake. That home run, by the way, was the 49th home run given up by Blyleven that year. He gave up another one, and Bert Blyleven holds the record. 50 home runs yielded in a single season. That's a major league record in either league.
Good thing there's video of that. Nobody was there to see it.
It did go into empty stands. Speaking of 15 years ago, that was Tom Kelly's first year as the manager of the Minnesota Twins. And in today's St. Louis Post-Dispatch, an announcement: Tom Kelly has retired from the Twins.
2 on, 1 out here for Jay Bell. And ball 1 from Bud Smith. So Smith has been wild, walking 4. Albie Lopez walked 3. Ends up lasting 3 innings, 4 runs, 4 hits, 3 walks, no strikeouts, and 2 home runs allowed. Bell out in front of a changeup. 1 ball, 1 strike, and that's one of the better pitches Smith has thrown in this game.
A little tough pitch to which to adjust when you've sat on the bench for 4 innings. You can see it from the side. It's not like it when you're up there.
Strike 2 on a fastball. 79 pitches for Bud Smith, and action for the Cardinals out in their bullpen as Steckschulte will get loose. Bell got a piece. So if you want to talk about a fluid and ever-changing bullpen, here's the guy that was supposed to be the closer, at least the right-handed closer for the Cardinals coming into the playoffs. And after some shaky work, he's warming up in the 4th inning of game 4. A 1-2. into center field, and Edmonds is there for the second out. And it's 2 on with 2 out. Tony Womack coming up. Another changeup, and Bell was a little off balance when he put the wood to that. Womack has a double. He has also struck out, and he stands in the way of the end of the top of the 4th for Bud Smith.
Good Tony Womack, one pitch you will not see during this at bat unless it's on the 8th, 9th, or 10th pitch is a curveball. Hanging curve the last time up, and you really do a small hitter a favor by throwing him a curveball. You speed up the bat head, and there it is, curveball. See?
Strike one.
I told you,
that
Joe.
Didn't work at all. Runners on at first and second, 2 out, no balls, 1 strike. A walk, a hit in the inning. Arizona down by 3 in the 4th inning. Oh, Bud Smith got the corner. Strike zone has been all over the place here in the first few innings.
Been a little fuzzy for home plate umpire Brian Gorman, even though that ball looked like it had a piece of the plate.
0-2 the count, 2 on, 2 out. Crowd trying to get back in it, and they'll get into it now as Womack flies to center, and the threat is gone for the Diamondbacks. A walk, a hit, Bud Smith perseveres. We go to the bottom of the 4th, bottom of the order. Cardinals bat, they lead by 3. Ryan Anderson, the new pitcher for Arizona after Albie Lopez, the starter, lasted 3 innings. Anderson worked in last night's game, went 1 inning, allowed a run on 1 hit. That was the Renteria home run. And who does he get to face leading off the inning? Edgar Renteria, then Marrero, then Bud Smith. 4-1, the Cardinals out in front, trying to force their way on to a flight out to Arizona to battle the Diamondbacks in Game 5 tomorrow evening.
I'm sure Brian Anderson will be happy to know that Nebraska is up over Baylor. Big.
Here's an 0-1.
Brian is a huge Nebraska University football fan. He goes to the games. As a matter of fact, he loves to play all of October because that means they'll be in the World Series. But after that, it's Nebraska football every Saturday.
Renteria flies 1 to center. Finley's there for it, 1 away. Well, while you talk football, no college football tomorrow, but Fox NFL Sunday will begin with America's #1 pregame show as JB, Terry, Howie, and Chris get you ready for kickoff. And right down the street, Jesse Armstead, the dominating Giants defense, will try to stop Marshall Faulk and the Rams offense. Or other regional action. Coverage begins at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Fox tomorrow. Marshall Faulk was in the game here last night.
Oh, is that right?
Entire game set right behind the plate. Marrero drops it down, and a good play by Brian Anderson to get it, spin, and throw for the out. 2 gone, and Bud Smith will bat with the bases empty.
During his last at bat, you talked about how Marrero is the fastest catcher in baseball. He had 12 infield hits of his 56 this year, trying for 1 in the playoffs.
If the Cardinals went a different way with their roster, one of the options for Tony La Russa was to add a 3rd catcher so he could use Marrero on the bases in a different spots in the lineup. He plays a little outfield. As Bud Smith, who drew a walk and scored his first time, takes a strike. We're in the bottom of the 4th. It's 4-1. St. Louis on top. 1 ball, 1 strike.
If you're thinking, do the Diamondbacks have a 3rd catcher? They did when the game started, but not now. Jay Bell has pinch hit, made an out. He's out of the game. He would be the 3rd catcher if they need one in postseason play.
1-2 on Bud Smith. The Cardinals' 3rd catcher, obviously, Mark McGwire.
Come on. No, you got me. You had that serious look. See, I misread that.
I know. I misread you sometimes. You misread me. Here comes a 1-2. The opposite way and foul. You know, a lot of times you talk to a manager, you say, who's your emergency catcher? I would guess that Tony La Russa would say Craig Paquette. But then you go to the guy that he would mention See, what are you, nuts? I'm not getting back there. Never done that in my life. A 1-2, and Smith stays alive.
That's the general reaction from other everyday players. Get behind the plate. Got to be kidding me. There's Craig.
Starter last night. On the bench today. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Bud Smith takes ball 2. In the 5th inning, it will be Sanders, Gonzalez, and Colburn. Diamondbacks have already stranded 5 runners on and had a runner picked off second. That's on the corner, and Bud Smith is gone. First strikeout of the day for Arizona pitching. It'll be Sanders, Gonzalez, Colburn. Big bats coming up for the Diamondbacks, down by 3.
The Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. This Bud's for you.
It's the 5th inning now of Game 4, with the Cardinals down 2-1. Diamondbacks trailing 4-1 in this 5th inning, and first up is Reggie Sanders, 0 for 1 with a walk, a stolen base, and a run scored, and a long, deep foul ball. Bud Smith is getting by.
Yeah.
He is not pitching as well as 1 run on 3 hits might indicate.
6 base runners stranded by the Diamondbacks in the first 4 innings.
0-2. Gonzalez next. Luis has walked twice today. Changeup misses. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cardinals now are going to get Dustin Hermanson, their other available starter, loose in the bullpen to get into the middle innings. Here's a 1-2 pitch to Sanders. Reaching for it. Right side for Vina. 1 out. A Seattle-Cleveland update as we bring to you Jeannie's last go of the game break.
Joe, some 2 months ago, the Indians rallied from a 14-2 deficit to beat the Mariners in Cleveland. After this Kenny Lofton home run, it's the Mariners that need the magic. The solo shot makes it 9-1 Tribe, top 6. Joe?
All right, Jeannie. So the Indians, it appears, will go into Game 4 tomorrow with Bartolo Colon on the mound with a chance to end their series with Seattle. Gonzalez rolls 1 foul. On the other side, Freddie Garcia, a guy who not many know outside of the hardcore baseball fans or outside of Seattle. He could be as nasty as there is in the game.
Yeah, you can see how artistic Bud Smith has been through the first 4 1/3. But with Freddie Garcia, it is just natural stuff. Throw it in the middle of the plate and let the action take care of it. Bud Smith can't do that.
Here's a 1-1. On the corner, 1-2. To first and foul. The way things have gone for the Cardinals in this series, especially after last night, however, while Bud Smith is just getting by or just persevering, Tony La Russa, Dave Duncan, and the rest of that Cardinal dugout will take it. 1 out in the 5th inning. 1 ball, 2 strikes, and time granted to Luis Gonzalez just before the pitch.
Just like Bob Brenly will take the 5-3 win last night over the Cardinals.
Number of chances late, really, for each team. On 1-2, Gonzalez gets out of the way. 2-2.
Baseball last night in St. Louis was ugly with acute personality.
It was ugly at times, and really all that's being talked about is leaving Matthews in the game in the 7th inning, but there was plenty of other instances to talk strategy as Gonzalez goes down, gets that ball, and serves it into right for a 1-out hit. Whether it's Drew bunting earlier in the game or is Bob Brenly leaving the right-hander Morgan out there to basically pitch around Drew and put the tying run on. That happened in the 8th inning. Diamondbacks got out of trouble then. The 9th inning, getting the first 2 on, not being able to get a bunt down, which was as big a misplay in the game as any last night. There was plenty to talk about, but everybody focused on Matthews staying in the game in the 7th inning. Inning that started with the Cardinals up 2-1 and ended with them trailing 5-2. Here's Colbrin now, 1 on, 1 out, ball 1.
You mentioned the fact that Damian Miller with a big hit in that 7th inning. That put runners on at 1st and 3rd, and then Greg Colbrin as a pinch hitter tied the game with a single, and that set things up for the 3-run home run ultimately by Craig Counsell.
That's foul. Well, the Diamondbacks have had some good swings against Bud Smith. With that, a foul ball to make the count 1 ball, 1 strike.
You notice that a lot of foul balls hit off Smith today have been pulled. Very few foul balls the other way. Reggie Sanders, Steve Finley. That ball by Colbrin nearing 100 pitches.
Another one pulled foul, 1 and 2. That by design as Smith ran it in on the hands of the Arizona first baseman. 1 ball, 2 strikes with Finley on deck and then Matt Williams to follow. Bud Smith could be looking at his final 2 batters of the day, with Hermanson getting ready out in the Cardinal bullpen. Runner at first, 1 out, 1 ball, 2 strikes. 5, 4, 3. And a big double play turned by the Cardinals behind Bud Smith. From Polanco to Vina and on to McGuire. Halfway through game 4, and the Cardinals lead by 3.
The Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser, is brought to you by Nissan. Nissan introduces the totally new V6 Ultima, the cure for the common car. By KFC, there's fast food, then there's KFC. And by Star Wars Episode 1 on DVD October 16th.
Well, Bud Smith, Tim McCarver getting handshakes in the dugout after getting through the 5th inning. 98 pitches on the day. Got him through 5. He is eligible for a decision, and that might be it.
It was your point, and a good one between innings, saying that Tony La Russa does not want to bring Hermanson in the middle of an inning. The reason for that, he's a starter, and he's more accustomed to starting innings. So coming in, even if it's 1 out and nobody on, would be odd.
Vina shows bunt, takes a strike from Brian Anderson, who pitched a perfect 4th inning. It'll be Vina, Polanco, and Drew if anybody gets on Pujols with a 4-1 St. Louis lead. And Vina is hit by the pitch. And Bob Brenly's going to argue, and I don't blame him. You could hear that ball hit something. And it sounded like it hit the bat, unless it hit a bone in the hand of Fernando Vina. You could hear that clearly.
The only thing, in my view, that a home plate umpire could go on is the reaction of the hitter. If he reacts immediately, then it hit him. If there's that delay and then he reacts, then it didn't hit him. He's acting. But watch Vina. Looked like it hit him right in the right wrist, and when you react like that, you can't be faking it. Even though it did, I agree with you, it sounded like wood.
Let's hear Bob Brenly, who's wearing a microphone. Well, no wonder he didn't win the argument. Well, I thought the ball hit the knob of the bat. And Vina is on.
Well, you can't react that quickly unless it's hurting. And that, to me, if I were a home plate umpire, that's how I would judge plays like that. But it certainly did sound like it hit wood.
Polanco at the plate.
Conceivably, it could have hit both.
Polanco pulls back from ball one. I'll say this for Vina, though. If you're Fernando Vina, a guy who from time to time will lean into a pitch, a guy who is no stranger to being hit by pitches, we'll take another listen to it as we get another look at it. But you think the acting or the inability to act that quickly would lead you to believe that the ball hit him instead of the bat, as Polanco gets a good bunt down. The sacrifice good, 1-4, and in second is Vina with Drew and Pujols coming up.
Of course, maybe Fernando has perfected that act.
Well, that's kind of what I was leading into for a guy who was hit 22 times during the course of the regular season.
And 28 to lead the National League last year.
At any rate, after the sacrifice bunt, is a runner at second with one out. The batter is J.D. Drew. Drew has an RBI hit today. He faces the left-hander and takes a strike. Drew 73 RBIs this season. For knocking in 57 a year ago. That's to the second baseman Counsell. That's easy for out number 2. Over at third is Vina. He's there for Albert Pujols, who's hitless in this game and only 2 out of 12 in the series. And now we'll see how the Diamondbacks want to play it. Pujols up here with Edmonds, a left-handed batter, on deck.
One of the problems when you're behind by 3 runs in the middle innings, if you start walking a hitter or pitching around a hitter with first base open, and then you get a long ball, then you're out of the game. So generally speaking, when you're behind or in the early innings, you pitch to the hitter, even if the hitter's the caliber of Albert Pujols.
Runner at third, 2 out, 4-1 St. Louis, bottom of the 5th. And a strike on a good pitch from Brian Anderson. Koplov, the rookie right-hander, getting ready out in their bullpen, a guy who Bob Brenly just loves. Good pitch again, it's 0-2. A hit batsman, a bunt, a ground out. And now Pujols with a runner at third, 2 out, set up at 0-2.
Coming back in there, you could see Damian Miller move inside. 2 fastballs on the inside corner.
On 0-2. Pujols reaches for it, and Matt Williams gathers it, throws it. Good work by Brian Anderson. Leadoff man hit by a pitch. Anderson gets around that, and we go to the 6th inning here in St. Louis. Dustin Hermanson will take over for the Cardinals, who lead it 4-1.
The Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser, is brought to you by Charles Schwab. Expert advice that's objective, uncomplicated, and not driven by commission.
Dustin Hermanson takes over. Tim, you and I were here on Saturday afternoon, the final Saturday of the regular season. Hermanson was ineffective in that start against Houston. Cardinals eventually won that game, lost Sunday, and lost the home field advantage. And Hermanson was bumped to the bullpen for at least this first round in favor of Bud Smith, who got through the first 5 innings.
Bud getting through, and I think that's well said, giving up 1 run to the Diamondbacks. That was a week ago when Dustin Hermanson had that start against Houston. A game won by the Cardinals, but it was not because of an effective outing by Dustin, who came to the Cardinals from Montreal, and it was a good deal, a very good deal for the Cardinals.
Steve Klein came with Dustin Hermanson for Fernando Tatis and Britt Reams. Tatis injured for much of the season. Reams up and down from the minor leagues to Montreal. Meanwhile, Hermanson, in case you're wondering, made 8 appearances out of the bullpen last year for Montreal, had 4 saves. And prior to that, predominantly a starter, 6 appearances out of the bullpen over 2 years prior to that. But Hermanson has come out of the bullpen, and he will work to Steve Finley, Matt Williams, and Craig Counsell here in the 6th inning. The question with Dustin Hermanson is how high is his motor running? He's one of those high intensity guys as Witt gets loose for the Diamondbacks out of their bullpen. And Hermanson has to keep those emotions under control if he's going to be effective.
With a pitcher like that, if he is nervous, up and away would be his zone.
Starts Finley with a fastball. And you talk about extreme opposites. A left-hander who specializes with a changeup compared to a right-hander who lives around 93, 94 miles an hour. Finley on 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That's how why it's often good for a manager to give the opposition another look, and Dustin Hermanson certainly another look. Not only a right-hander, but as you said, throws much harder.
Finley with a count of 1-1. Pops it into right. That's easy for Drew. 1 out. I want to know what's going to happen tonight between the Yankees and A's, and I want to hear it from one person. Jeannie Zalasko.
Oh, that was a very good choice, because here I am, Derek Jeter, gearing up in Oakland, where he admits the goal is to win a championship. If you don't, it's a failure, which is exactly what the world champs are facing. The elimination game coming up tonight on the Fox Network.
All right, Jeannie. Tom Brenneman and Steve Lyons will have that game for you on the Fox Network. See defending World Series champions swept in the playoffs the year after the title. It includes most recently the 1990 A's, who were managed by Tony La Russa. Here's Matt Williams, 1 out, nobody on. 0-1 the count from Hermanson. That's back toward us. Good swing by Williams, but it's 0-2.
In 1990, the Athletics entered the World Series against the Cincinnati Reds, managed by Lou Piniella. They had gone wire to wire to win it, and they swept Tony La Russa's Athletics.
Now both Koplov and Witt are getting loose as Williams takes ball 1. So here's a guy, Hermanson, who had 4 saves last year for the injury-racked Montreal Expos. Klein was also a guy who closed games for the Expos last year. A starter this season with a record of 14-13. He got the leadoff man, and now the 1-2 to Matt Williams. 2-2. And the only reason why I lead into that pitch with that setup is that maybe Hermanson is an answer as a closer with this team. If not right now, maybe next year. That's definitely a role that these Cardinals are going to have to fill leading into next season.
Because right now their bullpen consists of a floating stopper.
Here's a 2-2. Hermanson gets the second out. So with 2 out and nobody on, we'll tell you about tomorrow. The division series continues. Seattle at Cleveland, and the Mariners could be facing elimination. That's on Fox at 4 Eastern, Game 4, and then the Yankees at Oakland, Game 4 at 7:30 Eastern. Or the game that could happen tomorrow night in Arizona during prime time, and that would be this game between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Cardinals, and at least in my mind, highly anticipated rematch between Matt Morris and Curt Schilling, who pitched a 3-hit shutout Game 1 and was phenomenal.
Point we brought up last night, if you're the Atlanta Braves and they're watching intently right now. You hope it goes to 5 games.
Two out, nobody on, no balls, 1 strike. 1 ball, 1 strike now on Counsell, who's hitless today. He is trying to bunt his way on. He tapped it back to the pitcher. Fly to left his last time up, and he bats with the bases empty in the 6th. Here's a 1-1 from Hermanson. 2 balls and a strike with the catcher Damian Miller on deck. Hermanson's definitely got the stuff to be a closer.
Yep.
And he's got that mentality if he can keep himself under control. Trying to make the most of a relief opportunity, picking up for the 21-year-old Bud Smith here in the 6th inning. He got Finley, he got Williams. And Counsell lines one to center where Edmonds hauls it in. So a 1-2-3 inning for Dustin Hermanson. We go to the bottom of the 6th. It'll be Edmonds, McGuire, Renteria coming up. 4-1 St. Louis.
Brian Anderson has been very effective for the Diamondbacks. He entered the game in the top of the 4th inning, retiring the Cardinals in order. The only base runner, Fernando Vina, hit by a pitch to open the 5th inning. He was sacrificed to second base, but then J.D. Drew and Albert Pujols grounded out. Cardinals in the driver's seat here in the bottom of the 6th inning, with Jim Edmonds coming up. He'll be followed by Mark McGuire and Edgar Renteria. Edmonds a home run, his first time up on a fastball up and away. Hit it out to left field.
He's also drawn a walk. Anderson, very good work out of the bullpen for Arizona. Cardinals trying to tack on to a 4-1 lead. It's got to be odd for the Cardinals losing last night, coming to the ballpark today, having packed their bags, not knowing if at the end of this game they will continue on. And just because they go to Arizona doesn't mean a whole lot. They had to pack for then turning around and going to Atlanta, which is where they would start the NLCS. But they will worry about their clothes selection at another time.
Yeah, they are hopeful that they do not unpack their bags in St. Louis tonight.
No balls, 2 strikes. Edmonds trying to start something in the 6th inning. That will not start anything unless Anderson can't handle it. Easy play, 1 out. We have seen good relief work so far this afternoon, and now Mark McGuire strides to the plate. A guy who, in my estimation, Tim, has not only been bothered by the knees and that confidence problem, but feeding into that confidence problem is the high strike. When baseball started calling the high strike, nobody is more affected by belt-high pitches being called strikes than Mark McGuire.
Because as we mentioned earlier, he is a guy who likes the ball from the knees to mid-thighs. That uppercut swing.
Hard hit in the air to center, and a base hit as it falls in front of Finley.
Like that last pitch. That ball was about knee high. May have been off the plate away, but McGuire with a base hit to center field. Check where this pitch is. Actually below the knees.
So McGuire, who during the regular season had 56 hits, 29 of which left the park, leaving 27 hits other than home runs, is on with a rare 1-out single, and the batter will be Renteria. Up the middle, another hit. And now with 2 on, 1 out, Eli Marrero will step to the plate. This October, get ready for 13 nights of creepy movies. 13 nights of real ghost stories and 13 nights of haunted places. It's the 13 days of Halloween beginning October 19th right here on Fox Family. Dracula's Castle. We're talking about leaving people in Dracula's Castle. Would you be up for something like that, Tim?
Absolutely.
You do that?
Huge Bram Stoker fan.
A big Keanu Reeves fan, so after he starred in Bram Stoker's Dracula, I was hooked. 2 on, 1 out. Eli Marrero goes after one and fouls it back. Strike one. Tony La Russa, I'm sure, is pleased to see a rally being put together by the Cardinals. The bad news is on deck is the pitcher Hermanson. The Cardinals have to be pleased with the inning that Hermanson gave in the top of the 6th. I'm sure La Russa would like to leave him in the game.
I think what determines that is what happens to Marrero. If Marrero makes an out, I don't know whether he will go for the 2-out hit, but if Marrero gets a hit and the bases are loaded, then certainly you pinch hit. If it's first and second, 1 out.
There's a drive into right field, and Sanders plays it. 2 out, and that is the situation, and we'll see what the decision is. He's going to leave Hermanson in the game.
Yeah, this makes sense. If Marrero drives in a run and there's first and second, 1 out, you certainly leave him in and let him bunt the runners over. But because he threw so well in the top of the 6th inning, Tony La Russa leaves him in the game.
Hermanson had only a handful of hits during the regular season, but had the rare accomplishment of coming up with 2 hits in the same inning in his first start as a Cardinal in Arizona.
Man.
Cardinals started that series 0-3 after getting shellacked in Colorado, and Hermanson got him their first win. That's strike one.
I don't think I've ever heard of a pitcher getting 2 hits in 1 inning.
It's happened. I made that comment during the radio broadcast that night. People started handing me notes. And then there was this time, and then there was that time. I was surprised at how many times it's happened. Hermanson hit .081 during the regular season. So outside of that first night, not many hits. The count's quickly 0-2.
Good cut right there.
5 out of 62 was Dustin Hermanson.
Swing hard in case you hit it.
It's like the sun is trying to break through the clouds. You can see some blue in the sky overhead as Hermanson chokes up on the bat, trying to make contact, and that's ball 1. The Diamondbacks in their half of the 7th inning will have Damian Miller, then a pinch hitter, then Tony Womack. They'll be trailing by at least 3, trying to end this series here today in St. Louis, up 2-1. Hermanson stays alive. $52,194 the paid attendance here today. Few empty seats after a 3-hour 36-minute rain delay. 6th inning, 2 on, 2 out. Hermanson took ball 2. There are decisions to be first guessed and second guessed, but I agree with you. The state of that Cardinal bullpen right now and the way Hermanson pitched in the top of this inning, this is a rather easy decision. Leading 4-1, 2 on, 2 out, and that's strike 3 on the inside corner. 2 hits, 2 left. Cardinals have left 5. The Diamondbacks have left 5. We go to the 7th, 4-1 St. Louis. Here is our MasterCard fan cam in the 7th inning. These fans have persevered, hung in there, and for a tribute to them, here's Dino.
On a great big smile, make up your eyes with laughter. Folks will be laughing with you in a little while. Whistle a tune of gladness. Blue never was in style. The future's brighter when hearts are lighter.
Damian Miller first up in the 7th inning. And over below from Dustin Hermanson. Hermanson had a perfect 6th inning, and it is a credit to these fans. 3-hour, 36-minute rain delay. The rain was just pounding down just before 3 o'clock, and we got it underway. Hard hit, but right at Polanco. Good play, 1 out. So 1 down, and the batter will be a pinch hitter. Rubio Durazo will come off the bench and swing it for Arizona. Good work by Brian Anderson. 3 innings, no runs, 2 hits, no walks, 2 strikeouts.
I just ran into Mike Swanson. He does a terrific job at the Diamondbacks. He's the public relations director. Ran into him in the hall and was telling me a story. I said that we gave the Nebraska Baylor score. Nebraska blowing out Baylor today. And Brian Anderson, a big, huge fan of Nebraska. And I'll tell you what Brian does on football Saturday in the Diamondback clubhouse.
1 out, nobody on. Durazo takes the ball up and away.
He wears football pants, a Nebraska jersey, and a helmet and watches the game.
That's sad.
Watches Nebraska football games with a helmet on. Now, John Madden would love that.
He will definitely. Eats breakfast with a mouth guard in his mouth. He wears football pants, fully padded football pants.
Not fully padded. No, he said no pads.
2-0 the count with 1 out, nobody on. Durazo takes ball 3.
Thank goodness he's not a fan of sumo wrestling.
Women's figure skating. Three balls, no strikes, 1 out, nobody on. And a strike from Hermanson to Durazo. Rubio just burst onto the major league scene in '99. 52 games, hit .329 with 11 home runs and 30 RBIs. He's had a tough time staying healthy. And he lost his spot in their lineup to Mark Grace. Hits one deep into center field. Back is Edmonds at the wall for the out. Getting ready to put his foot up on the wall, and it died out on the track. 2 down.
Wall. Ball.
Looking away to find the wall a couple of different times, and Dustin Hermanson appreciative that he's got number 15 on his side, tracking him down out in center field. 2 out, nobody on. Back to the top of the order. And Tony Womack infield in on the corners. Strike 1. It's one thing to leave Dustin Hermanson in to hit in the bottom of the 6th with 2 on and 2 out, hoping you could get more outs from him. It would be another, and exactly what Tony La Russa wanted, for him to continue rolling. He has retired all 5 hitters he has faced now. One ball, 1 strike. Last year in the division series, Jim Essence against the Atlanta Braves, and Rafael Furcal did this, just twisting and over the shoulder, a catch for the out. Womack takes the ball up and away. It's 2-1.
Turning, twisting, Nobody can make that play like Jim Edmonds.
3-time Gold Glove Award winner, including last year. It was Edmonds winning it in his first year in the National League. 2 balls and a strike, and that's to the shortstop, Renteria. Wide but out as McGuire comes off the bag, and that's 2 perfect innings from Dustin Hermanson. Time to stretch here in St. Louis. Top of the order coming up for the Cardinals, who lead it 4-1.
The Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser, is brought to you by Wendy's Bacon Mushroom Melt. When you gotta have one, you gotta have one.
Well, the rain has for the most part stayed away after we got underway. 3 hours and 36 minutes after we were supposed to start, just after noon. And as it is just after 6 p.m. Central Time, it is the top of the order for the Cardinals against Greg Swindell. We'll give you our game summary, brought to you by Nissan. Diamondbacks trying to win here today to eliminate the Cardinals. 4-1 St. Louis, bottom of the 7th. Edmonds, another home run today. Vina went deep. He leads it off here in the 7th. And again, if St. Louis wins, it's Game 5 tomorrow, 7:30 Eastern. Kurt Schilling, Matt Morris in a rematch of Game 1. Strike 1 on Vina, who is 2 for 2. Singled, stolen a base, scored a run back in the 1st. Hit a 2-run homer in the 3rd, was hit by a pitch and stranded in the 5th. Polanco and Drew will follow against Greg Swindell. 1 ball, 1 strike. Here's Matt Morris. In the foreground with a jacket on and hoping he gets another chance at Schilling and the Diamondbacks tomorrow night. Here's a 1-1. Another hit for Vina. He's on base for the 4th time today. Cardinals bunted in this situation back in the 5th. And with Polanco coming up, I'm sure the Diamondbacks will be looking for the bunt again.
St. Louis Cardinals have had 10 runners on base, shape, form, or fashion today, and Vina has been on 4 times.
Came into this series a .303 hitter and the table setter for this lineup, but came into this game only 2 out of 12. Another bunt, another perfect bunt. Swindell fires to first for the out. The sacrifice good, 1-4. And again, the Cardinals ask for a hit out of Drew or Pujols.
The 3rd sacrifice of the day for Polanco. It was the sacrifice the Cardinals needed last night from Mike Matheny. They didn't get it. And McGuire ended the game with a double play. But Polanco this afternoon with 3 sacks.
J.D. Drew now. Drew an RBI single back in the 1st to tie the game after the Diamondbacks scored what is still their only run on a 2-out hit by Finley. Drew hitless in his career against Swindell in a matchup that we were anticipating in last night's 8th inning. that never happened. Bobby Witt getting loose again for Arizona. As Drew waits for a 1-0 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Albert Pujols waits to hit next. Crowd trying to get back into it. Been a long day at the ballpark. Here comes a 1-1. Good pitch, strike 2.
3 hour and 36-minute rain delay. Sometimes with that long a delay, the significance of the game is lost on the players. Not today, and not what at stake. What is at stake?
Swindell on 1 and 2. Drew took it outside. 2 and 2. JD missed a couple of different stretches during the course of the season. Hit by David Wells' pitch on the 17th of June and missed 35 games with a broken right pinky finger. And then was bothered by a lower back sprain. Right after he came back, here he hits a clunker to short, and Womack has to hurry. Got him. Good play. 2 out. And as Pujols had in front of him back in the 5th inning, he has a runner at third. Vina, 2 out.
Nice base running by Vina, determining the speed of the ball, realizing that Womack no way to get him at third. He moves to third.
So now it's Pujols, who's 2 out of 13 in the series. And again, the Diamondbacks in a spot with a left-hander on the mound. The left-handed hitting Edmonds on deck. They went right after Pujols the last time. They do here, and that's strike 1.
Often, if you're the runner on at second base, what determines whether you go to third or not? Is a ball hit at you or to your left, you go to third. A ball hit to your right, you hold. But you're on your own on high choppers like that ball that Drew hit.
Cardinals lead by 3. Bottom of the 7th. Runner at third. 2 out. Pujols out in front of a changeup, and the count 0-2. There was a changeup that got Albert back in the 5th inning on a slow ground ball to third. The Diamondbacks in the 8th will have their big bats: Sanders, Gonzalez, and Colbert. Pujols chased it. Good work by Swindell to get around a leadoff hit. Cardinals strand their 6th of the day. 8th inning now. 4-1 St. Louis.
The Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. This Bud's for you.
Dustin Hermanson relieved in the 6th inning. He's retired all 6 Arizona hitters he's faced, but he hasn't faced this group: Sanders, Gonzalez, and Colbert. The 2, 3, and 4 hitters in a 3-run game. At the top of the 8th, 4-1 Cardinals as they're trying to force a game 5. Reggie Sanders today is 0 for 2. He has walked, stolen a base, scored a run, struck out in the 3rd, popped up in the 5th. It is typical to see Steve Klein warming up in the 8th or 9th inning almost daily for the Cardinals this season. Hermanson ready to work. We're in the 8th inning, and Sanders hops out of there. Reggie 4 out of 11 in this series, a .263 hitter during the regular season with 33 home runs. Hermanson throwing hard, strike 1.
Cardinals with a 3-run lead here in the 8th inning. A high fastball by Sanders. And when you watch Steve Klein warm up, he is warming up in earnest. And I would imagine if Tony La Russa sees Sanders get on base, he'll bring Klein in to pitch to Gonzalez.
1 ball, 1 strike. Dustin Hermanson gave up a lot of home runs this season, 34. As he brings it, Sanders grounds to second. High hop for Vina. 1 out. And now Tony La Russa has the luxury of a 3-run lead in the 8th inning, facing Luis Gonzalez with the bases empty.
So Sanders did not get on, and now you allow Hermanson to pitch to Gonzalez, because the on-deck batter is a right-handed hitter in Colbert. That's also why Bob Brenly had left, right, left, right, left for the first 5 men in the order.
Timeout. Gonzalez has done that 3 different times in this game. So Hermanson will make Luis wait.
Managers try not to have left-handed hitters hitting behind one another if they can help it, unless the left-handed hitters are very, very talented. That prevents a manager from bringing a left-handed pitcher in late in the game and having it pitched to 2 hitters.
Gonzalez with a count of 1 ball, no strikes, 4-1. St. Louis on top, 8th inning. That's slicing down into the left field corner. Long run for Pujols, who's there. 2 out. And Dustin Hermanson, who was bumped out of the starting rotation in favor of Bud Smith, is trying to combine with Bud Smith to get this series back to Arizona tomorrow night. Here's Greg Colbert with 2 out, nobody on.
Joe, your point several innings ago when Hermanson came in was that the Diamondbacks would be facing a totally different look in Hermanson from Bud Smith. And they have faced it and have not done a lot with the fastball of Hermanson. Almost exclusively fastballs through the first 8 hitters faced.
With 2 out, nobody on, Colbert takes a strike. Hermanson with 2 out, nobody on, brings home the 0-1 pitch, a ball and a strike. Still with Colbert at the plate, Steve Finley on deck, and Klein in the bullpen. If Colbert reaches, Tony La Russa could very well go right to the bullpen with Klein. That missed low, 2 balls and a strike. Colbert is hitless today, 2 out of 5 now in the series. On 2-1, Polanco. Dustin Hermanson perfect through 3 innings of relief. Bottom of the 8th now. Cardinals will try to add to their lead with Edmonds, McGuire, Renteria coming up. It's been this way since the 3rd. 4-1 Cardinals.
The Division Series on Fox, presented by Budweiser, is brought to you by the Intel Pentium 4 processor, the center of your digital world, and by Energizer. Do you have the bunny inside?
Bottom of the 8th inning, Edmonds, McGuire, Renteria coming up. Coming up tonight on the Fox network is game number 3 of the Division Series between the Oakland Athletics and the New York Yankees out in Oakland. Barry Zito against Mike Messina. Zito 17-8, Messina 17-11, and had a terrific second half. Mike Morgan getting loose, just in case, for the Diamondbacks here in the 8th inning. Tomorrow, it is potentially a triple header of baseball across the Fox networks. That would be if the Yankees win tonight and extend their series to 4 games. Edmonds, strike 1 as that'll get out of play. If the Yankees win tonight, and there is a game 4, the day will start on Fox Family tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern with Seattle at Cleveland. Cleveland, it appears, is a game away, a win away, as they lead 12-2 late in that game from closing out the Seattle Mariners. New York at Oakland would be at 4 p.m. on the Fox network. And then game 5 of this series, St. Louis at Arizona at 7:30 on the Fox network. Matt Morris against Curt Schilling. If the Yankees do not win tonight and they are eliminated, slide the Seattle-Cleveland game down to 4 p.m. on the Fox network. And we'll follow that with game 5, barring a 9th inning rally by the Diamondbacks at 7:30 on the Fox network with St. Louis, Arizona. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Edmonds. There's also football tomorrow, which will get underway at noon Eastern with Fox NFL Sunday. The big game is the Giants taking on the undefeated St. Louis Rams at the Dome down the street. Edmonds stays alive at 1-2.
Because of Mark McGwire being on deck, you almost know that this is the last hitter that Greg Swindell will face, with Morgan ready to go in the bullpen. Right, Bob?
Sure, Timmy. Well, the Arizona Diamondbacks have to feel awfully confident going back home and handing the ball to Curt Schilling.
After that masterpiece he threw last Tuesday night.
Edmonds strikes out, 1 away. Now McGwire will bat with the bases empty. And it will be, it appears, against Swindell. Despite 3 right-handers coming up. And instead of that, Brenly hops right out of the dugout. And it appears he will make the pitching change. He will. So with the 3 right-handers coming up, Bob Brenly will go to the veteran Mike Morgan. Good work by Swindell. Good work by each bullpen today. Bottom of the 8th, 4-1 Cardinals. McGwire against Morgan when we come back. Mike Morgan is appearing. He worked in last night's game. Did well enough. Ended up going 2/3 of an inning. No runs, a hit, a walk, and he will deal with McGwire. Cardinals up by 3 in the bottom of the 8th. 1 out, nobody on. And a pitch sitting up there for McGwire, and he fouls it straight back. Strike 1.
You could see Big Mac shake his head. Mike Morgan is the type of pitcher that McGwire can handle more than any other type pitcher. That ball was up, but for Morgan to be effective, he's got to be down, and McGwire, a good low ball hitter.
That's down and out of the strike zone. 1 ball, 1 strike. If there is a game 5 tomorrow night, I've got to believe that McGwire is in the lineup against Curt Schilling. Just for the threat of 1 swing making the difference in the game. To the left side, and the count 1-2. You talked about it last night. Kevin Kennedy talked about it last night and today. That McGwire's presence, especially in a game 5, if there is one tomorrow night, should be there backing up Matt Morris for St. Louis.
Certainly here in St. Louis, with the home fans and the adrenaline going, Cardinal fans are hoping that McGwire can pop one and assure that he'll be in the lineup tomorrow night.
Career against Schilling, 4 home runs. And I've seen a couple of them, and they were memorable. McGwire checked his swing. They do not appeal. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Got him looking. Breaking ball on the inside part of the plate. 2 out.
That was a breaking ball that backed up over the inside part of the plate. See the catcher sitting outside? He goes across the plate to get the strike. Pitchers and catchers refer to those pitches as backup sliders, and that's what it was for Morgan.
Here is Renteria with 2 out. Nothing shaking for St. Louis. Edgar is 1 out of 3 tonight. today, tonight, this morning. Pop up to the right side, and Colbert watches it go out of play. The Yankee game coming up on the Fox network. The Yankee game meaning the defending world champions, the 3-time defending world champions, trying to get past a team that is so impressive in so many different ways. Barry Zito, 9 straight wins to close out the year. Mike Messina's ERA microscopic in his last 9 starts. Renteria grounds out. Good relief work all day, each side. We now go to the 9th inning. Cardinals 3 outs away from forcing Game 5. Kerry Robinson takes over in left field. That means that Albert Pujols will move in and play first base. And that means that Steve Klein will pitch and bat in the spot vacated by Mark McGwire. Klein will be out there to try to close it. Save situation, 4-1, 9th inning, with Finley, Williams, and Counsell the scheduled hitters.
Steve Klein with 89 appearances this year, the major league record for appearances by a pitcher, 106 by Mike Marshall in 1974. Pitched for the Dodgers that year, and he won the Cy Young Award, a rare achievement for a reliever.
We talked about it last night, the 254 appearances by Steve Klein over the past 3 seasons, the 5th most in Major League Baseball history. As Finley will lead it off against Klein. The Cardinals 3 outs away.
Kind of looking around the Cardinal infield. Pujols, his first inning at first base, shortened up a bit. Polanco shortened up at third base. The Cardinals trying to take the bunt away from Finley. If he's going to bunt successfully, it's going to be the right side of the infield and not down third.
So Finley first up, trying to get it started for Arizona. They'd like to go home after tonight's game and get ready for the National League Championship Series starting Tuesday against Atlanta. Strike 1 from Klein. Cardinals would like to win here this evening and go immediately to the airport and fly to Phoenix. That's up to Klein and, at least at the start of the inning, Finley, Williams, and Counsell. 0-2. At some point this season will end for the Cardinals, and Steve Klein will put that hat to rest. Major League Baseball got to be happy to see the end of that as Finley leads it off with a base hit. An 0-2 pitch, and here comes Arizona. What a big hit for Finley, who's 2 out of 4 today and 7 out of 15 in this series.
Right in the middle of the plate. An 0-2 mistake by Klein. He had success on the 0-1 pitch, the slider low and away. He tried to come back with it, and he hung it right there. And good hitters don't miss that pitch, and Steve Finley's a good hitter.
Here's Matt Williams, another good hitter, although hitless in this series, 0 for 11 with a walk, 275 during the regular season. Renteria flips, Vina in the middle, got them both, double play, and it was Pujols coming off the bag to get the second out.
Well done at second and first. Finley trying to take Vina out. Vina getting rid of it quickly and avoiding Finley. Pujols pulled off the bag and making the tag. Well done by the Cardinal threesome.
Those who don't have dinner plans, those who don't have a babysitter to drive home, those that remain in the seats here after a long day. Many got here before noon. It's now 6:32 on the scoreboard clock, and the Cardinals are 1 out away from forcing Game 5 tomorrow night in Arizona. Counsell. Ball one. The other series in the National League is over. 3-0. Atlanta over Houston. 1 ball, 1 strike. This series 2 strikes away from a 5th game. And a matchup of 2 terrific right-handers, Matt Morris and Curt Schilling. It'll be tomorrow night on the Fox Network. 2 balls, 1 strike. Remember what happened in game 1 between those two. Morris 7 innings, 1 run, 6 hits, 6 strikeouts, while Schilling pitched a 3-hit shutout with 9 strikeouts and was almost untouchable. A 1-0 Arizona win. Here's a 2-1. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Fans in Phoenix canceling dinner plans for tomorrow night.
Getting a babysitter to come over and watch the kids.
You got it.
Here's a 2-2 to Counsell. Right side base hit. Craig Counsell keeps it going. What a scrappy little player he is. A good player, and this game breathes on.
Battle his way back to the big leagues and battle to keep the Diamondbacks alive here in the 9th inning.
So now Damian Miller, as the Diamondbacks need 1 more base runner to have a chance. They hold against the runner at first. Renteria says, let's go to Phoenix. For those of you watching KSAZ in Phoenix and KTVI here in St. Louis, after these words, we'll send you to Fox's coverage of Game 3 of the Indians and Mariners. Following that will be Game 3 of the Yankees and A's. A 4-1 win for the Cardinals here in Game 4, forcing Game 5 tomorrow night. That'll be on the Fox Network at 7:30 p.m. Curt Schilling, Matt Morris, and tomorrow night's game will be brought to you by Budweiser. Tim and I will be back after this break as the Cardinals win at 4-1 behind Smith, Hermanson, and Klein. It is a final of 4-1. The Cardinals win it. Bud Smith, the 21-year-old rookie left-hander, does not turn 22 for another 10 days. Pitching on 9 days rest, got through 5 innings. Dustin Hermanson didn't pout about not getting the start. He came out of the bullpen and fired 3 shutout innings, and Steve Klein finished it off. That means Game 5 tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern on the Fox Network. It'll be Curt Schilling and Matt Morris, a rematch of Game 1, which was a 1-0 final. The game won by Arizona. For more information on today's game and for the latest information on Major League